Hey guys, we're live. It's Ted Bogert with the TED Show. Really excited to have on Josh Wilson with Uncensored Advice for Men. It's a podcast. I think I was going to make a joke about how, you know how dudes don't like to ask for directions. Well, this sort of takes that to the full next level, or level 10. But, we'll get to that. I want to know about Josh Wilson. Welcome to this show, and tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, man, my name's Josh. First of all, I run a podcast show called Uncensored Advice for Men. All right. I'll kind of give you the backstory later on. But warning, this show, before you go there, we talk about topics ranging from Jesus to female orgasms. So it's not for children, and it's not for most adults, okay? Because we will push some buttons. So that's the show that I run.
That's all right. That's good. That's good. Well, but we want to now. Obviously, you weren't born and you said, I want to have a podcast, Uncensored Advice for Men. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, man, my journey, I've had more pivots than most people, right? Some people would call them failures. I call them pivots. I've had more jobs than most. Some of the fun jobs I'll mention. I wrestled alligators professionally.
You wrestled alligators here in where?
In a place called Ocala, Florida.
Oh yeah, I know Ocala very well.
At Ross Island Nature's theme park, right? Silver Springs theme park, and all the way up to 9.5 feet. I still have all my appendages, and
wow.
I was a professional firefighter paramedic. I trained defensive tactics with police, with the SWAT guys, with emergency medicine guys, and EMTs. So that was fun. I was a real estate broker. I worked.
You were a real estate broker?
Yeah, I worked. I guess I still am. It's still active. I've worked with venture capitalists, with private equity. I worked with billionaires. I've raised some money for charities and for helped with some missions. I've done a lot. I've grown up on the construction site. So, anyways, I could go on a lot more, but I'm going to stop.
No, I like it. I think it's important. It's good for the audience to kind of know, all right, where your perspective is. It's not just you woke up one day and said, I'm going to give uncensored advice to men. There's obviously a whole path and journey you took to get to this. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about uncensored advice. What was the impetus of that? Where'd that come from?
So I think I'm on podcast number 6 that I built. I've interviewed 400 or so entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, investors, founders across 5 or 6 different shows. I've sold one. I built some. I've had lots of flops in between, trying out new things. And what I found with podcasting, what I like about podcasting is I could have a one-on-one conversation. I could really get to know someone, and then we could share that. And people can access that information when they most need it. Okay.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about censorship, right? And there's a lot of media censorship that goes on, right? So I wanted to create a platform, especially because of this virus that broke out. I had my team stand it up really fast, so we broke a lot of shit. But we stood it up really fast to build a podcast where I wanted to reach men specifically. The show's called Uncensored Advice for Men. And so this is podcast show number 6 or something. And I wanted to help men where they are at. Sometimes when men get wounded, they go into isolation. They retreat inwards, or inside a room or whatever. And people were forced to work from home. People were forced in weird situations. People lost jobs. People lost a lot of money. We've all had some loss due to this virus, as we're coming out of the other side, hopefully.
True.
But men specifically, me being a professional man, I've been a man for 38 years, so I think I'm pretty good at it.
I was going to ask why men, especially since men don't take the advice. Why choose men as your focus?
Yeah. So honestly, here's a few reasons. Women are, this is generalization, much better at communicating than guys. So they'll go to their friends and they'll have conversations, and I'll see my wife do it, or I'll see my 7-year-old daughter do it. Like, nobody had to teach my daughter like how to communicate. She just
she knew,
and she's great. So she could communicate much better than I can, and I get paid to do it. So I just don't think that men were being served in this, and the topics that guys want to hear or that need in times of need. I didn't think that people would have a safe place to find it. For example, if guys are curious about the female orgasm, you type that in, you're gonna get in trouble at work. You're gonna get like in trouble with a wife. But we have a professional coach, one of our professional coaches. She's a partner, and she comes in and she talks about sexual health. Like, wouldn't that be awesome? Whatever question you have in your brain, Ted, and you're like, you know what? I'd like to learn more about that. Like, this is a place where you could do it on your walk, on your run, on your drive to work, or whatever, and it's safe. It's safe because we're not pushing an agenda. I'm not. So as of now, I haven't accepted any advertising. We've pushed those kind of things away because we want to work with coaches and the dudes and the people that are being served. Right. That's it.
I love that. I think, we'll take the topic female orgasm, for example. Guys aren't going to ask, man, because if you ask, the first thing I thought of is, all right, I went to 8-year-old humor or 10-year-old humor or whatever, stupid dude stuff.
Yeah.
And then I thought, all right, so who's going to be brave enough? How are you going to create an environment that is safe enough where a guy can ask that? And not everybody don't go, oh, what's the matter? You were never been able to do it. I mean, I could think of the things that would be said, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you are. No wonder you've been through a whole bunch of girlfriends. Can't keep them happy. I mean, I can't even imagine the conversations.
Right.
So how do you create that, though, where there's an environment where the guys feel good about asking those kinds of questions?
That's a great question, Ted. So I think it comes from a point of vulnerability myself. Right. So a lot of my life, I try to figure out who the hell I was. Okay. I got it tattooed on my arm. It says, who am I? Right. So like I spent a lot of time trying to figure out who Josh is. And where are you going to go to learn about the topics of life? Right. Like my dad was a paratrooper, Vietnam guy. He's been shot twice, crashed a few helicopters. Like this guy is a man's man. Right. And I grew up on a construction site. By age 10, he taught me how to beat up bad guys, right? But you know what our sex talk was this is the vagina, this is what a penis, like he used hand signals and he said, do you have any questions? I was like, God, but I'm not going to ask my dad. So,
right.
So I think creating a safe place to go, hey man, guys need advice. We need advice and we're not great at asking for it, but we truly desire to connect with other dudes and other women. We truly desire to learn and grow, but we're stunted because one of the things is we're censoring ourselves because we don't want to look like a fool. We don't want to look, guys especially, we don't want to look like, hey, I don't know how to please women, or I'd like to get better at it, or I don't know, on the flip side or on a different side of things, like I don't know if I feel comfortable saying what I like or don't like.
Correct.
Whether and it might be a guy or girl or something else. Like if you don't have a safe place to hear other people, then it's not normalized, and then you feel alone. That's the purpose of the show, so guys don't feel alone. Women are never alone. Generalization. Guys are. I've talked with lots of dudes, and I coach dudes. We all feel lonely at some point, right?
I feel like guys, like there's an organization, like a CEO organization, where dudes can all do this and they can talk about all of their stuff, but they create an environment there where they can talk about some of the concerns they have at that level. But I think this is unique because guys don't have that. Guys tend to, it's lots of sports conversation. A lot of it tends to be, I'm generalizing, but a lot of it tends to be fluff. And very surface. And I don't think it's because they don't want to have a conversation. I don't think they have the tools, Josh. I don't think they have the wherewithal to really take a little bit of risk and go, hey, Josh, how you feeling today? Or I got a question for you. You have to have that environment. So how do you create that on a podcast? Do people call in? Do they ask questions prior to? How does that work?
Yeah. So we're testing this out right now. Right now, it's after doing it 400 times, I've interviewed a lot of guests. What we're starting to do, and we're running a small beta group that personal invitations only, and people have to go through an application process because I don't want dicks in the audience, right? Where they're gonna like, I'm talking to a female sex health coach, and the guys are being idiots, right? We could all snicker, we could all have a good time, but like we got to approach this respectfully. So I am very guarded against my audience. So we're starting to add audience members in on the show. So as I'm interviewing the person, they could type in their questions, and I could go, hey, question from the audience just came in, whatever the question might be. And then afterwards, I'm allowing for our coach partners, the ones that I trust and I built a relationship with, to have interaction Q&A time with the guys. So I'm creating the environment by being vulnerable and going, I had no clue about that. We did an interview about, I'll share maybe a few of them, but about male erections, and there was stuff in there that I didn't know, and I was like, I thought I knew everything about the male, but I didn't.
Well, yeah, we did. It's not like well, I don't know. I guess a lot of people do a lot of research, but I understand what you're saying. Like that's not really a conversation you have. I mean, I'm not normally sitting next at the bar with my friends and talking about erections. But I think that there has to be a place for guys to be able to talk about stuff like that.
Yeah, and maybe it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But I promise you, like after I share these, so you'll see I started posting things on LinkedIn, like the name of the show or the episode or whatever, and there'll be very few likes because guys aren't. If they like it, they go, oh, maybe I have a problem with erections. I don't want to like it because then people will think that like
Crazy.
whatever. But I do get a lot of messages, people going, hey man, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for thank you for talking about that. Like I interviewed a guy today, and he was talking about shame. You know how many times, like, how many guys right this minute are going through life going, I'm not good enough.
Yep.
I'm not good enough. I'm broken. Whatever their dad or mentor or person who abused them put into them, they accepted that as a part of their identity. Like, guys are just going through this, and we're carrying the shit on our own.
Great.
So, like that's why I'm interviewing the coaches and asking, the hard questions and the fun questions too.
I think your vulnerability is key to it, my opinion, because when the host is, we just try to, like here, we even try to create a very safe environment so we can talk about anything in any way that you want to talk about it. And I think that if you, which you obviously are, immediately you're open and you're sharing and you're talking about stuff, guys will, I believe, flock to that because there isn't a lot of opportunity for that, but you're the one setting that up. What's been a big surprise? Has there been any big surprises in your interviews? I get asked this a lot. Somebody that you didn't expect to emote the way they did or talk about something the way that they did. Any surprises for you?
Yeah. Guys aren't good at this. So, I teared up, like I was having a conversation with a coach and he was sharing his story, and his story like came from like being abandoned by his father. New stepfather abused him. Stepbrothers tortured him. Like he used the word torture. And then
Wow.
he grew up like trying to mute out all the noise in his head. So he would turn up the volume and he would use alcohol and sex and all these things. And I don't want to give away the interview because you guys got to just come listen in on the show. But like his identity became that of the way people were treating him. And then what happens with that, and as he was sharing this, man, I'm tearing up and I'm like, oh my God, like you don't have to have this crazy ass story like that he does, but we all have some level of that story where we start to believe something that someone's been telling us, and then we start telling ourselves, and then it doesn't stop there. Like if it stopped there, guys would be tough enough to carry it, and maybe I'm just a bad guy or whatever, and maybe I'm just not worth it. Maybe I'm not worth a good relationship. Maybe I'm not worth this or that. But what it doesn't just stop with you. You start treating other people the way you feel you are. You see the
Sure.
world as your own identity. So then you'll start treating your kids like shit or your spouse is like shit
Very
because
much
you
so.
believe you are shit, right? And that's shame. And shame takes this approach and it causes damage. So guys need help with that, right?
I think guys need help with shame. There's so many emotions that we don't get. Or it's not that we don't get, it's just we've been conditioned to not emote them or speak them or show them or be vulnerable about them. The majority of the people who cry on my show are men. And it's, I found, and I've just gone back and really thought about it, it's because a lot of them, it's the first time they've spoken or emoted what they're saying ever out loud. And so when they say it, it's just this rush of emotion and feeling and memory that comes, and it's overwhelming for them. And that is a testament to the fact that we don't express ourselves enough. We're not good at it. We don't I don't know, I know why, but in this day and age it amazes me that we continue. I have guys, like, I'm a hugger, right? And even pre-COVID anyway, I'm a hugger, and guys who you can tell who have never had a hug in their entire life. It's crazy that they're still carrying that around, because if they're carrying that around and that body language and they're that uncomfortable in just a small social setting, imagine what the rest of their life is like.
Right. Yeah. Great point.
So what do you want to do with the podcast? What's your ultimate goal on the expansion part of it? You want to have a live audience, you want to have an audience, you want to bring people in, you really want, tell me what you want. I don't want to tell you what you want. Tell me what you want.
Exactly what you said. No, when this it was initiated through the accelerated. I guess my courage was accelerated due to the coronavirus. Like, I was nervous about getting out there and trying again, because I've had a lot of flops. I've had a lot of great shows. I hit iTunes top of charts and I've had a big audience, but I've also flopped. And when you flop publicly, like, some people may not pay attention, but those close to you, like, they're all here's another thing, right? And I used to have a nickname, like, growing up, because I had a hard time, like, choosing. At the time, it was a girlfriend, and it was just like back and forth. And I had a nickname: On Again, Off Again, Finnegan. So that became like,
Wow.
I'm not even Irish. I don't even know, but that's what they said. But like, I was nervous about starting this, but for so long, like in my prayer, in my prayer time and in my time thinking about this, like, I was just like, when this started, because I've been through it. 2004, when no, 2006, it happened to me. I was sitting on $8 million worth of spec homes with me and my partners. Like, I lost all my money. That was the first time. Then
Wow.
then I lost all my money, like, building a fitness company and going through an adventure there. Then I built and helped sell a construction company, lost some money there. So it's like, I've had a lot of adventures and a lot of great experiences. But when this started, I said how I reacted. I almost killed myself because I couldn't provide for my family at the time when I just had my first daughter. I felt worthless as a dude. I felt absolutely worthless. And so when this pandemic started, I said, guys are going to hurt, because I hurt, when all the times that I went through these changes, except I've been through boot camp, because I've been practicing for the past 8 years of this, or 10, 15 years of whatever, entrepreneurship. Like, I've had practice, like, pivoting and taking a punch to the, face. I said, guys are going to really struggle in this, because they're going to lose their job, their security, their stability. They're going to lose money. They're going to be stuck at home with their strangers called their family that they haven't seen in forever, because they're always working. They're going to be facing giants and devils, not their family, but like themselves. and they won't, like it. I say this, and this is something that's really important to me, is because I almost killed myself, and I have friends that lost their life to loss of hope. Is when this started, I said, guys there's going to be an increase in divorce, an increase in babies, an increase in suicides. And I said, man, I reached out to one of my mentors. He's probably worth $250 million, and I was just like, hey man, this is what's going on, because I've made enough mistakes that I need to ask advice on the front end. So I reach out to people who are smarter than me, and I go, hey, this is my mission. This is what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to try to save 100 guys. Like, I'm going to try to save 100 lives. Like, I didn't know if this was going to turn into a podcast show or not, or just some microphone thing. So I said, this is where, and he goes, go for it. You got to do it. And he said, now that you said it, you got to do it. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I started, working with some coaches, and they said, Josh, you're not only serving the audience, you're serving coaches, because you're creating that environment. I'm like, okay, well, it's only been 2 months, but we're breaking technology and, like, have to fix websites constantly. And I'm not a tech guy. So it's like constantly working with teams to fix stuff. So I started this to save 100 lives, 100 dudes.
What have you, are you doing anything different because of this? Treating your family differently, or have you had any epiphanies yourself since you started on this particular part of your journey?
Oh God, yeah. I use this all the time. So because I'm doing sometimes sometimes I'm doing 5 interviews a day. So think about it this way. I'm getting 2.5 hours worth of coaching every single day. So if I'm not growing, that's my own damn fault. Right.
Agreed.
But I'm talking with my wife and she'll say something and I go, I learned this from one of my coaches. So I interviewed and I go, babe, I understand. I see you. I said, here's a safe place. Come here. You got, you got me. How could I help? I'm listening. Right. And before I would have tried to fix her problem. I tried to manage her, and
Yes.
the coach, the actual title of the show was manage her emotions, not her. So I helped her go, these things that you're feeling, like, tell me more about them. I'm curious about them. And she was like, what? Who are you? And I had my cheat sheet because I just did the show notes, or like talking with her or my family. And I go, I'm spending a lot less time judging. I'm spending a lot less time fixing people's problems. I'm spending a lot more time saying no to people, no to things, no to opportunities that just might not be a fit on who I am or who they are. So it's absolutely changing my world. And the guys who get to sit in on my audience, they're getting free coaching too. They're there right there with the coach, and they're sending in their questions. So it's just like, yeah, man, this is definitely changing me. I didn't expect that much, but I'm hundreds of pages of notes already. So
But
it's cool.
you've given so much. So the fact that you're open to that and open to the giving, of course, that's when the receiving starts coming in. You've done a phenomenal job with that. I didn't realize, because as you probably know, or at least you do now, I don't do a ton of research. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Chris. Hey, Neo. I don't do a ton of research because I want to ask the questions organically.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize the amount, or as deep of a dive as you take with this. My first impression was, we're finally going to teach these guys to ask for directions. We're finally going to do some of the basic things, but you really get into the psyche and the soul and the heart, and that's amazing. All right, so where do people find you? Where do people find Josh Wilson? Where do people find the podcast? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so if the technology's not broken, if I haven't broken it yet, and I've broken it many times, uncensoredadviceformen.com is where you can go, kind of look through some of the topics. And the goals, you could look at it and you could say, hey, I want to learn about this today. And you could dive in, listen to a coach, and then reach back out. And then, on LinkedIn, look up Joshua Bruce Wilson. That's my middle name. And you can find me there. I deleted Facebook. And
I told you, you're my first person I think I've ever had on that has zero Facebook presence.
yeah.
So this is a learn, but it's good. We still have a lot of people interacting on Facebook, just so you know.
Oh, cool.
So,
Hello, everybody.
all right. So uncensoredadviceformen.com. Start there. I've tagged you in the places I can't tag you, but definitely on LinkedIn you can look.
Yeah.
That was very, very, really, really good. I
Thanks.
can't. There's not enough good words to describe how awesome.
Could I ask you a question, Ted?
Absolutely.
Do we have a minute?
We do, of course.
Ted, if I could go out into the world and find the best coach in the world who specializes in X, whatever it is, what's one piece of advice that you would want me to go out, find the best coach in the world, and ask that one question? What's that piece of advice that you would want to know? And I'll go out and I'll find it for you. Yeah.
I love it. I am really working through this, monetizing what I do.
Okay.
I am a really horrible, I can ask for money for you, Josh. I can talk about advertisers for you all day long. I can talk about anybody else and help you find your pile of money or whatever your goals are, your little bit of money. And I do a horrible job for myself. So
cool.
Figuring that out would be wonderful for me.
I will go find that answer from my 100 coaches and from other people, and I'll bring you that answer, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm a work in progress like all of us are, and I love the fact that you created a safe place for us to go talk about it. Thank you. Josh Wilson, uncensoredadviceformen.com. Thanks, buddy, for being on. That was really awesome.
All right, we'll see you guys.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Have a good one.